أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. صدق الله العظيم. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। थोड़ा सा बस टॉक के बारे में हज़रत की तरफ से ये था कि हम ज़्यादा इसको इस पर फोकस रखने के बजाय कि पूरा थ्रू आउट घंटा सवा घंटा टॉक की जाए, तो ही इज़ प्रेफरिंग कि थोड़ा सा 30-35 मिनट्स टॉपिक पे बात हो जाए और उसके बाद ज़्यादा बेहतर ये है कि आप हज़रात की तरफ से सवालात आ जाएँ और वो सवालात के ऊपर फिर आगे वो जो भी डिस्कशन है और कन्वर्सेशन है वो आगे कंटिन्यू हो जाए। तो उससे उम्मीद है कि इंशाल्लाह सबको उसमें ज़्यादा फ़ायदा होगा। तो हज़रत की तरफ से भी ये बात थी और रास्ते में से मशवरा भी हो गया था। तो आप लोग के ज़हन में जो सवालात हों, वैसे अगर कुछ सवालात हों या टॉक में आपके ज़हन में आएँ, तो लोग अपने पास नोट कर सकते हैं और आखिर में फिर आप लोग उनमें सवालात कर लेंगे, तो हज़रत की तरफ से इंशाल्लाह उस पे जवाबात भी आ जाएँगे। मैं से दरख्वास्त करूँगा कि इंशाल्लाह टॉक स्टार्ट कर लें। जज़ाकल्लाह खैर। ठीक।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अला रसूलिल्लाह व बअद। अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि ta'ala wa barakatuh. The talk is in English or Urdu? English? Have you come to hear my English or listen to the talk? Alhamdulillah. Is the awaz aa rahi hai? I can speak Urdu fluently as well. I can do Urdu, English, Arabic, French. I can speak fluent Urdu, alhamdulillah. Especially for the last 5-6 days I've been in Karachi, so I've practiced it more as well. Is everything okay? It's not fit properly. I was in a conference 3 weeks ago in Canada. 1 hour before the lecture, we had to go back, behind the screen, and professional people putting this on 15-20 minutes. This goes from here and a tape here, and this from this side, and this from this side, and so alhamdulillah. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here with you today, organized by Hikmah Institute. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Hikmah Institute, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all the brothers and maybe some sisters also behind the scenes arranging and organizing this program. Here we don't know the adhan, if it's the adhan of the masjid or it's the mobile phone. Alhamdulillah. Too many people have ringtones of adhan. So may Allah reward all of you as well for taking your time out and coming today. And as the brother just mentioned, I will talk half an hour about a few issues, and then it's better that you send in your questions or you ask questions and I can take your questions and we can discuss some issues inshallah ta'ala. This topic, which has been announced, modernism, traditionalism. What is traditionalism? What is modernism? What is tradition? What is modernism? What is modern? Is there a clash between the two? Or is there not a clash? We are talking about traditional Islam and what we see in the modern world. Modern, when I say what we see, modernism in terms of modern things, modern products, modern ideas, modern concepts, modern ideologies, everything. So is there a contradiction? Is there a clash between Islam, which is traditional, and not just Islam? All the religions are traditional. All the Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Judaism, they're all traditional faiths, traditional religions. Islam came over 1400 years ago to the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The teachings that he came with, the wahi that Allah sent him with, we always hear Islam is until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Qiyamat tak hai. I can say some Urdu words. The teachings of Islam is all the way till Qiyamah. So, is there a contradiction to what is modern today? And remember, something which is modern today will be old after 50 years. Modernism keeps on changing. We think, one of the issues is that we think we live in this world, that what is right now is the most important part of human history. Every human being that comes in the world, they think, Hamara Zamana, our time is the worst ever. They thought about that 200 years ago as well, and they will think about that after 500 years as well. We think this is the biggest challenge, but Qiyamah is coming. Our time is the worst. It's not like that. Who knows? Allah knows. Hundreds and thousands of people have, millions and billions of people have come in this dunya and they've gone. But anyway, when we talk about modern ideas, modernism and Islamic teachings, classical Islamic teachings, traditional Islamic teachings, in concept, Islam does not go against anything that is modern in any era or any time. Islam doesn't oppose something because it's modern. Islam encourages it. Islam encourages technology and making new things, producing new things, and Islam has always supported this, as you know, in history. In history, we always like to talk about history because we don't have anything right now, but in history, all the technology and everything was in the hands of the Muslims. From a political aspect, from all different aspects, Muslims were at the forefront, at the top of all industries. So Islam encourages all of this. There is no contradiction. But the point is this, that Islam has certain guidelines and teachings and ahkam and through wahy and revelations in the Quran and Sunnah, which are in place ila yawm al-qiyamah, until yawm al-qiyamah. So if anything that is modern, whether it's something that's introduced or technology or modern idea or concept, if it conforms, if it agrees with Islamic teachings, then it is a very good thing. But if it goes against it, then we prefer the Islamic teachings. Now the issue here is that, look, in today's time, whether something is good or not, any modern idea, whether it's good or not, it's based on what? If it's not based on Islam or any religion, what is it based on? And what is science based on? A lot is based on rationality, reason, aql. Today, the greatest religion is the aql religion. And how many gods does that religion have? As many people there are. Every person is the God. أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَى. Allah says, have you seen the one who has made his hawa? Hawa is not the Urdu hawa. This is in Arabic, hawa, which means your desire, what you want to do. Allah says, have you not seen the one who has made his hawa his God? Hawa is actually what the aql follows. Aql will follow, will give reasons, justifications of what you want to do. If I want to do something, then I will make my aql believe and think. If I want to buy a car, a small child or a teenager, if I want to buy a car, I really want it. I can see some faults, but still, I'll just make myself explain. It's nothing. You don't understand. I will justify it. That's how human beings are. So this is what reason is. Today, everything is based on reason. Reason is the be all and end all. It's the final decision is based on aql and reason. They use science and data. They will not just say reason. They use science, but science and data as well is in conformance with reason. Reason, how do you understand the data and science? Through your reason, through your aql. It's like, the glass is tainted. If you have green glasses, you'll see things green. If you've got shades, brown shades, then you'll see things brown. So all of this is tainted with aql and reasoning, how you understand. And then also data and science, it keeps on changing. Nothing is 100%. It keeps on changing. So major facts and figures change over 10 years, over 5 years, over 15 years. So nothing is 100%. What we call in Arabic, qat'i, absolute. Qat'i is like this is right now in front of me, 100% qat'i. Besides that, everything else is dhanni. Like right now we are in this room, I can see you, this is qat'i. Some people even deny that is qat'i. That's another level of people. They think everything is just superficial. I'm not really in this world. I'm not really physically, we are just experiencing things. So you punch the person, say, don't worry, it's not hurting you because it's not here. But anyway, right now what we see here is all qat'i. Right now, what's outside is we parked our car. Is your car there? That's 99%. 99.99% is dhan ghalib. You have different levels. So aql is not data and science and facts and figures. That's not 100%. It's not qat'i. And neither is aql 100% divine. And then each person's aql is different. There was one Sheikh, Sheikh Muhammad Awama, Hafidhahullah. He's still alive. He lives in Turkey right now. He's originally from Syria. I've met him many times. A great scholar of the world. Somebody asked him once that what if a hadith, which is sahih, which is authentic, which is in Sahih al-Bukhari, goes against aql, reason? logic, rationale, then what do? So he said, the question is the hadith going against whose aql? Your aql or my aql? Or his aql or her aql? Everyone's got a different aql reason. There's no one, it's not one rationale. So reason in itself is, number one, not divine. Number two, it's not something that's agreed by everybody. That's what the Mu'tazila went into, the excessive rationalism. Okay. So this is why I was saying that modernism, whether it's modern, things that are produced or invented, or ideas or concepts or roles, or gender roles or whatever, living standards, money issues, family issues, it's all welcomed by Islam, but as long as it does not go against the divine, clear, divine. You see, in Islamic teachings, there are some teachings which are not absolute clear. They are, like I'm talking about when something is clearly in the Quran and Sunnah, it's clear, basic concepts of Islam. I'm talking about those. I'm not talking about the ikhtilafi difference of, here you can have 2-3 opinions, it's not a problem. But things which are agreed, like everyone knows, for example, homosexuality is not allowed in Islam. It's not allowed. It is haram. It is impermissible. We don't hate anyone who's involved in that, because Islam doesn't allow that. We need to remember that it's not, we shouldn't have homophobia. We are not homophobic people. We don't hate anyone. Islam says don't hate anyone. If someone doesn't pray the 5-time prayers, is also sinful, like the person who is involved in homosexual activity is also sinful. Why do we hate this person more than this person? Why do we make one sin worse than another sin? Missing salah is probably a greater sin, who knows? So, but we know it's not allowed. It's agreed upon clear concept teaching of Islam, which agreed by not just Islam, but even other faiths, Christianity, Judaism, it's agreed upon. This is what happened in other faiths. They brought modernism, they brought reformation, reform into their religion. And even if it went against their teachings, they preferred what? The reform, the modern, because they said we have to move with the times, even if it goes against the clear teachings of the religion. And Muslims are the only ones, majority, alhamdulillah, majority so far. But this is where we need to be careful. We don't want Islam, and this is what the agenda of the non-Muslims are. They want Muslims to become like the Christians and the other faiths and change their religion, reform it, tajdeed and reformation. Why are Muslims just sticking to something that came 1400 years ago? They don't like this. But we are very clear, alhamdulillah, Muslims are very clear. So these clear concepts, like homosexuality is not permissible. For example, covering, hijab. It's a clear ruling concept for a woman to cover, and even men to cover. There are certain rules about hijab for men and women, which means men have to cover certain parts of the body and women have to cover. These basic, gender roles, the role of the man, the role of the woman, marriage issues, divorce issues, all these issues, these are agreed upon clear concepts in Islam. So this is what I was saying, that when something is clear in the Quran and Sunnah, when agreed upon, mainstream ideas and concepts which have been coming down from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the Sahaba, to the Tabi'un, and then all the way till today. If any of this goes against something new, modern view or idea, then we don't take this as a Muslim. Because this is then going to the extreme of reason, extreme of rationalism. Islam says you need a balance. And I'm going to try to end with this. You need a balance. Balance between reason and divine teachings. Because you could have, these are two extremes. Excessive extreme of what I said, rationalism, excessive reason. And there's also been some people who've gone to the extreme of extreme literalism. In history, we've had this. As though we have to behave as though we have no aql. Some people take Islam as though what? Excessive literalism. Which means that if this is written like this in the Quran, that's it. We don't use our brain even a bit, as though Allah has created us without an aql. You know, the example of this is that, look, we have two lights. We have light of the eyesight and we have the sunlight. If you have bright sunlight, but if I'm blind, can I see? I can't see. And if I can see, my eyes are open, but there's no sunlight, it's dark, no lights on, complete dark, I still can't see. Ash-shari'atu kash-shams. Quran and Sunnah, Sharia is like the sunlight. Our aql is like the eyesight. To see completely, you need the sunlight, the main light, but you also need your eyesight. You need your aql to understand. To see in the sun, you need. So we need the balance between Sharia and aql. Islam is not saying that take your aql and put it in a coffin or usko dafna do niche. Aql. Islam is not saying that. Aql and intelligence is very important. We understand the nusus, Quran and Sunnah with aql. We understand Islam. Allah came and, Allah sent the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He came with the revelation. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with the wahi to the people, to the uqala, to the people of intelligence. So this was one extreme of excessive literalism, as though you have no aql. On the other hand, there were groups like Mu'tazila, there were people like Khawar, mainly Mu'tazila and the different sects of the Mu'tazila, who gave preference to the aql, excessive rationalism, excessive aql. So if something is not understood, then they gave preference to the aql over Quran and Sunnah. And that's also an extreme. The middle way, the Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, is in the middle way, the balanced way. Use your aql, but always give preference to the Quran and Sunnah. Always give preference to the teachings and the guidance given to us by the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, I will just end on this one last thing, that look, we live in a time right now. We live in a time right now where the problem is that we find too much imbalances. Very few people stay balanced in every issues. If someone's gone down there, then he'll go all the way down there. If someone's gone this way, then he'll go to the extreme of this way. Very few people stay balanced in most aspects of religion and deen, and just, you can take any issue. Even with this issue, when someone opposes modernism, and when they say, when someone, like I've given you an overall view that, look, aql is important, but more important is the Quran and Sunnah. It has to come in light of Sharia. Now, if someone goes to this side on the right of giving, preference to the teachings of Islam, to the teachings of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sharia and Sharia and the Quran and Sunnah, then they'll become so passionate, so extreme and passionate about this, that they will become very opposed to anything that is modern. They will not tolerate anything which is even slightly modern, which doesn't go against the Sharia, but they just will get very extreme. On the other hand, these people will think these guys are all extremists. These mullahs are extremists. These Maulvis are all extremists. We need, it always happens in the world. When you have one extreme, there'll be another extreme. If you have this extreme, you will have. I've been coming to Pakistan quite a bit last few years, and I studied here for 2 years, but that was back in the day, 15, 20 years ago. So I didn't know much then. That time, I don't know much now, but that time I was very young and a student. But what I've noticed recently, that I see in Pakistan, I actually tweeted about this as well. I see two extremes in Pakistan. Two extreme types of people when it comes to religion. There's a big group of people on the left. They dislike, I won't say hate, but maybe dislike. You won't say dislike Islam, but they dislike things associated to Islam, because they can't openly say they dislike Islam. So they dislike masjid, madrasa, Maulvi, mullah, these guys are all backward, sitting in a cave, you know, they don't know anything about dunya, they don't know about science, they don't know about technology, they don't know about anything. What are these guys backwards? And they are justified somewhat in some aspects, not totally, but in some aspects, some people are very backward. But it becomes like a hatred. I see this online as well. Anything to do with, they just, every time they want to hate. And the people they hate the most are the Maulvis and the Mullahs, because they represent Islam. So their hate comes towards them the most. Symbols of Islam, but they hate the dress of Islam, if there is a specific type of dress, but that's another discussion. But like for example, the beard, that is sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they dislike that. Anything to do, you know, they just have this dislike. Especially those who are going to universities, become educated, they have this, you know, they look down upon. You'll feel this as well. They will look down upon. I've experienced this myself. Traveling, once I was traveling from here to somewhere, internal flight, and the moment if you're wearing a hat, you've got a beard or something. I don't think I had a thoban. I hardly wear shalwar kameez. Haven't worn it for a long time, but I think that time I did. I don't know why. And, you know, this is a mole. They're looking down, and then the person I was with them was speaking to me English, and then it's like, okay, why is he speaking English? So look at how the nature slightly very quickly changed. You call this ihsas-e kamtari in Urdu, inferiority complex. This comes about because of that these Maulvis don't know anything about doing madrasa and stuff like that. So you get this extreme. On the other hand, you have an extreme of people who become so religiously extreme when it comes to scholars and masjids and madrasas, especially in those villages, and you know, people take them for advantage. People, you know, they have peers, fake peers, and you know, anything and everything. There's jahala. There's no aql. In the name of Islam, the things people do. They loot people with money. They steal people's money. They control people. You know, some of the things that happen. It's crazy. In the name of tasawwuf, in the name of Islam, tasawwuf can go massively wrong sometimes. There's a real good tasawwuf, but tasawwuf and tazkiyah can become very bad in some cases when it becomes a cult. And it can become very, very bad, where it's all control and cultish. You know, everything, you have to keep the balance. So you get this on this side, where they become so extreme with some of the issues. And even concepts, Islamic teachings, as though they are sitting in a village on a mountain in 1923 somewhere, trying to explain Islam to some Bedouins. You know, this is the middle way, that look, modernism is there, but we prefer traditional Islam. And this is the summary that I want to say, that we accept the traditional teachings of Islam, but we explain them, we understand them in the modern context, with the modern aql. We don't change it, and this is very difficult. I'll give you an example and I will end, just so you understand how this happens. It's very difficult. We stick to traditional teachings of Islam, but we explain them, we understand them, we teach them, we act upon them in the modern world, in the modern context, in a modern way. Because that can change. You don't have to change, so you don't have to keep the same way of teaching something. That can change. You can go in a car. Before they used to go on camels to the masjid, or motorbikes. Now in Pakistan everyone's on motorbikes. So let me give you this one example. One of the issues in Islam is talaq is in the hands of who? Who gives talaq? The men. Men give talaq. Now, I've mentioned this example many times before. I was once teaching a course in London. There was a sister, a female sister in the course. She asked a question. She said, I want to ask you a question. The talk was about gender roles equality in Islam. There's equality, men and women, there's equality, of course. But there's no similarity. There's differences. Some people can't understand these differences. Men are from Mars, women from Venus. You read the book? You haven't read it. It's a good book. It'll teach you, some of the things non-Muslims say. Honestly, there's a book called The Surrendered Wife, written by a non-Muslim woman, American woman. I think she's died now, I don't know, a long time ago. She wrote this book. Why she wrote this book? That when she was married, she was having problems in her marriage. Problems in her marriage. Why? Because, as you know, the Western woman, the liberal woman, the feminist woman, the modern woman, I am the boss. You don't tell me what to do. Tum roti pakao, main salan pakata hu. Ya pakati hu, whatever. It's like it's all. Abhi to there's two pakatas or two pakatis. Who knows? It's the world. The world has all gone confused, gender roles and everything. Because you see, this is the problem. When you make aql your God, then there's no ceiling or limit, or there's no criteria, because you can justify everything. This happened in history as well. There was a group called Karamata. Their whole concept was that it makes no sense for a brother to leave his sister at home and go and marry a ajnabiya girl from another house and leave his beautiful sister at home where they have compatibility, everything, and give his sister to another man somewhere else, and it doesn't make sense. They wrote a book on this, the Karamata. Someone said to them, isn't incest means, as you know, that's filthy dirty. They said, who said it's filthy dirty? Your mind made it up. Prove it. Give me data, give me science, give me rational reason that this is bad. You just born with this idea. What's evil, what's good, it's all in the brain. So someone said to them, well, there's data and science and facts that, it causes illnesses. They said, no, they came out with their own data. It's wrong. Who said? It doesn't cause diseases and abnormalities in your children. So to purely on the basis of data and reason to refute them, it wasn't possible. It wasn't possible. Even now, there was a wedding, a marriage in Germany. My brother got married to a sister, it was proper. And it will happen. What homosexuality was 50 years ago, even in the West, in England, in America, in Canada, the same thing after 50 years, incest will be the same. There'll be groups, marching, that marriage between mother, son, and, sex between family members. It'll happen 50 years. It will happen in the West in 50 years down the line. Then it will become, like they'll have their own rainbows. They'll have their own rainbows. Because you see, reason, it becomes crazy. There's no rule, regulation of where to stop. It can carry on and carry on. I can imagine there'll be a marriage between a human and a cat or a dog as well. Probably there's already been, I don't know. Yeah. In India. Ajib, it's crazy. It's because there's aql. You see, the aql, afara'ayta man ittakhadahu ilahahu hawa. And I will say, before I come to that, to finish it off, look at this point. We are living in a time when the aql has been given the most importance. Right? Aql is like, people in the West say all the time, here as well, don't judge me, don't say anything to me, I judge, I decide, my body, my mind. Even you guys had it in Pakistan. My life, my rules, my body, my jism, my whatever. No one there to. It's crazy. The thing is that they don't realize that this is bad for them. The people who are telling them that this is your freedom, this is not freedom. Real freedom is in following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't worry about anybody, anything. Who cares what my family say? I'm telling you, the Western woman, Especially even the same thing here probably. But I know a lot about the UK Western women. I've done a lot of research on them. I've even spoken to some just to understand the mentality. They wake up with anxiety and stress about whether the nose is this way or the eye is this way or when they work or this something, and they sleep like that. There's no freedom. They are worried about every part of their body and clothing, and one wrinkle, and that's it. Their life has ended. One wrinkle. They can't, when they get about 35, 40, that's it. Khalas, their life's ended. Look at a Muslim woman, she's a wife, she brings up children, grandchildren. Allah gives her noor on the face, she brings up family, home, cooks. She doesn't worry about wrinkles, because you've got a hijab on, you look beautiful. You look at a woman who's 70, 80 years old, lived in Islam, brought up children, grandchildren, served her husband, stayed in an Islamic environment. So much noor. You come and see in England, come and see the non-Muslim woman who tries to put makeup. She's 75 and she's putting makeup and she's like, it's ajib. There's no freedom. There's no freedom. Mentally, they don't have freedom. I actually tweeted about this and somebody said this as well, that this is the real freedom. Just generally, just the point I was saying, don't forget, I was saying, you know which point I was saying? If I forget it. I just want to just read this out to you. Yeah, I just said here, private life, when it is actually private, is the best life. The less people know about your personal matters, home, family, marriage, job, car, income, the more calm and peaceful your life is. You don't have to worry about it. That's real freedom. And I mentioned here that so I think that was the one, and there was another one, I think. No, this wasn't the one. The one I was thinking about was that don't worry about, where is it gone? Yeah, this is the one. Sorry, I read the wrong one. If you stop worrying about who thinks what of you, if you stop doing things to please people, to earn their praise, if you just concentrate on what makes you and Allah happy, then you will be happy, and that's the real freedom. Don't worry about, even young people sometimes, mera bal, istara. No, nobody's going to write a book on your hair. Your wedding as well, do it with ikhlas, sincerity, feed people for the sake of Allah. No one is coming to your walima and going home and starting 5 chapters on the great walima of brother such and such. Nobody. They will come out of the wedding hall, they'll do one burp and go toilet. Everything's, and they'll still complain, salt was too much, there's no problem. They could have at least said this time, this just goes in their pan and cigarettes. Finished. Nobody. We can never please people in the dunya. Impossible. And even if we can please them, there's no logical benefit. When we please someone, what? Well, they'll say something, then what? They'll say 3 times, then what? We're going to record it and keep on listening. You're very nice, you're very nice, you're very nice. You go to sleep as well, listen to you, very nice, very nice. How does it physically help us? I always say that if someone praises us, every time they praise us and I get some money in my pocket, then understandable. I am physically getting something. Every time praise me, say, give me 5,000 rupees. If you want to do tarif, give me money. Don't do tarif, give me money instead. At least I've got something. But praise, what does it do? Likewise, criticism, don't worry, it doesn't do anything. We need our connection with Allah. If Allah is happy, then the world can criticize us. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change anything. So the point I was saying is that, look, this is the time we live in, the Western world especially, where aql, this is the point I was making. Everyone gives preference to aql. Yeah, this was, I said something that the modernist, feminist woman, is like, was it? 75-year-old. Yeah. But the point I was trying to make was this, that look, when we live in a world where so much importance is given, everyone thinks aql, rational reason is supreme. Yeah. Have you realized what is the greatest disease in the world? Mental health. It's not cancer. It's not corona. The greatest illness, and you guys might be connected to medicine, some of you. Today, anxiety, depression, mental health. I've done many lectures on mental health, different universities. Mental health is the greatest illness. Allahu Alam, I'm not saying, I'm just thinking maybe, this is just my thought. I could be wrong, you could agree, disagree, but it's just, I think, maybe, that Allah is trying to tell us that you are thinking that aql is the most powerful, I will give the most illness to your aql. In a time where aql is deemed to be, we don't, just at a side point, this doesn't mean anyone who's got mental health is bad, or there's nothing like that, okay? This is another topic, but I'm saying overall, generally. It doesn't mean that someone's got mental health is bad Muslim. Good Muslim can have as well. Okay? So don't take that, I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying overall, generally, how Allah, because when Allah puts something in the world, also gives to good people, bad people and good people. You know, when the wahi, the innamal a'malu bin niyat hadith, that when the Sahabi asked, if somebody knows the hadith, ثُمَّ يُبْعَثُونَ عَلَى نِيَّاتِهِمْ. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, يُخْسَفُ بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ. You know, Sahaba asked, when the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that Allah sometimes will punish, that people will be yukhsaf. How do you say that? You know, yeah, how do you say that in English? Huh? Under pressure? No. People will be swollen up by the ground. So the Sahaba asked, even if they were good people, said even the good people, but then on Yawm al-Qiyamah, the good people will be raised on the niyyah intention and they'll go to Jannah. So when azab of Allah comes, it comes to everybody. Remember, that's why, you know, mental health could be generally a punishment, but also good people could get it. This is a very important point, because some people think mental health, that means astaghfirullah, you're far away from Islam, Islam pe amal nahi karta, that's why you're bad. That's why you're, no, that's wrong. Good people can get it, bad people can get it. But the point generally is that, look, in a time where aql is given so much importance, Allah has given this. So this was just a point, but the main point I was talking about, and to end with that, definitely, I know I need to get back actually, but aql, I was saying talaq. Talaq is this is an example, I want to end with this example. Talaq is in the hands of the man. So I was teaching a course. So there was a woman who asked this question, and she said that, can I ask a question, why in Islam talaq is in the hands of the man? It's not fair. Okay? Now, there's one way of explaining, which is the extreme here. And this is, you know what I said? That explain in the modern context. So one way could have been, yes, talaq. Man, rijalu qawamun al-nisa, man, aurat, naqisatul aqal, you know, problem in the head, no, you can't give talaq. That's one way. You're already naqis. You're already naqis aqal, or naqis deen, or sab kuch naqis waise bhi hai. And you guys, you know, you stay in the house, roti pakao. That's one way. Maybe in some villages that could work, I don't know. You see, each place, each context. Now, the way I explained to this sister who asked this question, first of all, I said to her, who told you in Islam talaq is in the hands of the man? It's not. She said, huh? I've heard all my life that in Islam, talaq, the man gives the talaq. بِيَدِهِ عُقْدَةُ النِّكَاحِ. That's the Quranic verse as well. بِيَدِهِ عُقْدَةُ النِّكَاحِ. The man gives talaq. I said, no, that's wrong. She said, I'm talking about traditional Islam. I said, yes, I follow traditional Islam. It's not. She says, okay. She said, what of the madhabs, the Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali? I said, I follow the Hanafi school, all the madhabs, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali, everywhere. Talaq, who said the woman can't give talaq? Now, she was like a feminist, liberalist, you get this classic, woman who is, feminist, liberalist, modernist, maybe a vegetarian, vegan as well at the same time, lesbian as well maybe at the same time, because they hate men. and an atheist at the same time. I'm not talking about non-Muslims, but you get, this is classic in the West. Atheists, and they will all say themselves at some point that they've got mental health. You read their social media accounts. They've got one day the atheist, next day they're probably a woman, next day they want to have a transgender something, next day they love men, next day they want to have sex with a woman, next day maybe an animal, next day the depression, and it's all gone. Aql is gone. They themselves, they say we've got aql problems, depression. And non-binary, gender fluid, gender free, with gender, they don't know with gender. Now it's like so many people are saying we are gender free. No male, no female. I don't know if you have something here like that, but in the West, there are places now they are saying that, you have forms male, female, or other. You don't have to say whether you're male or female. So I mentioned to her, I said, who said? This was a Muslim woman. I'm just saying it's feminist, etc., but that's different. But this was a Muslim woman who was in a program, in a course. But she was a bit feminist. You get lots. Do you have haid? Does he have haid? Menstruation? No. Do you give birth to babies? Yes. Does he give birth to babies? No. Physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, from every angle, men and women are different. Like that's why I said men from Mars, women from Venus. I was talking about the other book actually, and then I went on to Surrendered Wife. Finish that 1 minute on that. There was a woman in America, Laura Doyle. She was having massive problems in marriage and problems with her husband. So what she did was that one day she said, I just want to become submissive. Muti'a, ita'atu zawj, surrender to my husband. She changed her style and her living way with her husband. She started becoming a surrendered, submissive wife. المرأة إذا صلت خمسها وصامت شهرها وأطاعت زوجها. Hadith of Bukhari. A woman who prays, fasts, وأطاعت زوجها دخلت الجنة من أي أبواب شاءت. So she was non-Muslim, but she did that, and her marriage transformed completely. Completely transformed. Husband became such a nice husband, and because the husband wants to have Allah's created the man as a someone who looks after. He wants to be given the importance. You're in charge. Ar-rijalu qawwamun, and he will treat the woman well. So her marriage completely changed. So she told her friend, "Do you have problems in marriage? You have too much problems. Because do this. My marriage, alhamdulillah, helped." I don't know if she said alhamdulillah. She was non-Muslim at that time. So her marriage changed as well. She told another friend, they all came together and then they became a group. It became like a group called the Surrendered Wives. Sorry? Yeah, the Surrendered Wives. And then she wrote the book. You can buy the book. Amazon will have it. The Surrendered Wife. I read this book 10 years ago. When I read this book, every chapter reminded me of Quranic ayah or a hadith. A non-Muslim wrote this. Chapter 1, obey your husband. Non-Muslim saying, obey your husband. Today world, feminists like, what do you mean obey? And a Muslim woman said this to me. Once I went to a conference in Canada, RIS conference, many years ago, 2010. My talk was husband and wife rights. Straight after the talk, I talked about the rights of the wife for half an hour, husband for 15 minutes. Still, after the talk, a woman came, older woman, I remember, like a professor with glasses, she was in her 60s, 70s. You gave this, no. What are you saying, obey the husband? I don't accept this obeying the husband. Are we dogs? She said, are we dogs? No, only dogs obey their master. No, I am an independent woman. I earn, she earns. This is partnership. This is no one obeys nobody. I said to a hadith, I read all the hadiths. She goes, no, the hadith is weak. Now this is another thing. Anything doesn't get to your aql, weak. Even if it's in Bukhari, it must be weak. because the Prophet ﷺ can't say this because it's against aql. So now how you decide a hadith is sahih or not is based on aql again. So this is another problem. Is based on again reason. Modernism is reason, and this is the point. We have to be very careful. But to finish this off, that we have to explain it in the modern way. Can't explain it in the old way. So this is what I said to this woman, that look, who said? So then I explained to her that men, women, they give the talaq differently because men and women are different, mentally, psychologically, physically, all angles. And the difference is that when a man gives talaq, it's very easy. He just says talaq, 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 done. Easy. But when a woman does that, it's not. And I said in this case is actually the ruling is better for a woman. I would rather be in that woman's place in this mas'ala. Actually, it's not fair for men. Because you know how many men find it difficult. The hadith says, ثَلَاثٌ جِدُّهُنَّ جِدٌّ وَهَزْلُهُنَّ جِدٌّ. Three things, even by joke, by mistake. How many men give talaq and then they cry afterwards? Then they go to this Mufti Sahib and this one and this Maulvi Sahib and then go for a 3-in-1 ruling here and this and that. Find someone somewhere who will say my marriage is okay. And that's another topic. I have so many men who have, you know, this OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, waswasa. I have so many who've contacted me over the years. There was one brother from Norway. He phoned me every day. I counted for 26 days, every single day. I'm in the bathroom, mujhe shak hota hai, I think talaq nikal gaya muh se. My wife, I'm eating something, I think I've said talaq. I say, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. They are scared, fearful. But if the woman says talaq, 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 talaq 100 times, and she will say it as well, then she'll say, I love you as well. See, to say this as well, nowadays some of the feminists won't like this. But that's the beauty of a woman, you know, the beauty of the woman is she's emotional, she's sentimental. That's what makes a woman a woman. That's the beauty, that she doesn't mean the hate. And she might not even mean the love. That's why if you read the book, Men from Mars, Women from Venus, there's a chapter in there that women speak majaz, metaphorically. You know, when your wife says to you, Kabhi nahi le gaye restaurant mein, that means aaj le jao. For 2 years, I've never been to a restaurant with you, means can we go today, please? So don't take literally. And this is why I tell young people before marriage, understand the differences between men and women. You're not marrying a friend now who used to hang around with your, you know, another guy because of the shisha and, you know, pan and, you know, things. This is a woman, different. Everything is different. And a woman should understand a man. So anyway, for a man, it's very easy. Talaq, talaq, talaq. For a woman, it's not that easy. But still, the woman can give talaq. I said to a woman, talaq is she has to go. It takes a bit long process. You have to be really serious. You have to go to a court or a Sharia council. I know there's rules about the court, but there has to be some grounds, of course. You can't just do it just like that. But no woman's going to go for a talaq without a grounds as well. MashaAllah, my husband is amazing, amazing. I want talaq. Nobody. Unless she's mad in the head or something. But normally, there will be grounds. And the grounds will be zulm, oppression, physical abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, not giving her haqq, huquq and rights. That's the only reason. And Islam will always, that gives talaq, that if a woman goes to a Sharia, in England we have Sharia councils, because it's not a, here I don't know how it works, court talaq, but it has to be based on Islam. You can't just go to a co-important masala as well, you have to remember. Because otherwise then it becomes the same. But the woman it'll take a few, for the husband takes have to speak to a lot of non-Muslims. I specifically took all the 40 hadiths were taken from the 6 books of hadith, but all of them were Sahih or Hasan or Sahih or Hasan, sorry, all of them authentic, most from Bukhari Muslim, but I specifically took those ahadith which were challenging to explain the real balanced way. Al-mar'atu khuliqat min dhil'in. A woman is created from a rib. وَإِنَّ أَعْوَجَ مَا فِي الضِّلْءِ أَعْلَاهُ. The most crooked, bent part is the upper part of the rib. A woman is created from a bent rib. What does that mean? But then there's another way of explaining proper. The balance is very important. You can go to the other extreme to oh, now people are modern, now manner that can be changed, but not the rule, not the understanding of Islam. You know, the Quran says, darb, wadribuhunna, واللاتي تخافون نشوزهن فعظوهن واهجروهن في المضاجع واضربوهن. When your wives, 3 stages of islah. Then Allah says, third one, wadribuhunna. You know what wadribuhunna means? Now there's one extreme here, pitai karo, beat your wives up, and some of them do beat their wives up here, especially in this kind of astaghfirullah. How can you do that? There's hadiths that talk about, in some of these places they do so. They translate it as wadribuhunna means go on a honeymoon with them. Because another meaning of the word darb in Arabic is safar, traveling. إذا ضربتم في الأرض يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا ضربتم في الأرض فليس عليكم جناح أن تقصروا من الصلاة. So وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ unke saath safar karo. Go on a honeymoon and sort your problems out. This is a tafsir which is a modern tafsir which goes against all the tafsir that came from the Sahaba, Tabi'un, Atba'u Tabi'in, the 4 Imams and the Fuqaha and the Aimma through the generation, and a new modern tafsir. There are people who say hudud are all completely, they want to abolish hudud as a concept. That's extreme. You can explain things. You know, I've taught all these hadith, I've explained even hudud the way I explained it. Non-Muslims understood. I had a program once where I had about 100, it was in a university, 100 non-Muslims, over 100 non-Muslims attended. We had 100 Muslims, but we had 100 non-Muslims. And these were non-Muslims who were really passionate and angry against Muslims and trying to attack. I had a question and answer session. There were gays in there. There was one guy who was Muslim, but gay. And in the program, when he was saying, you know, asking questions. But you have to, you can't move away from tradition, but you just have to learn how to explain this. I think I'll even do this, inshallah. Ta'ala, time is, a lot has gone, but inshallah, jazakallah khair. I think we take a few questions.
Context of modernism.
See, all darulums are different in the world. In Pakistan, you have a system, wifaq, so I can't speak, you know, it's connected. But this is a general question. So because you see a lot of people who are not in the darulum, they don't understand that all the darulums are not connected like the Western or the, you know, the university. University, everything's connected. Here, each darulum, I'll open my darulum in that corner and I'll have my own syllabus. You're in that corner, you'll have your syllabus. You could be completely different. So this is a question that you can't really answer because there's no one answer. There's no one global, you know, answer for all the darulums in the world. Everyone in England, we have private darulums. We have every corner darulum madrasa, every city, everyone's got their own. Some people have changed certain types of things in the syllabus, more, some people less, so it depends. But as a concept, the answer is that yes, we should change. Rather than answering what's happening, because I can't answer that, everyone's But as a concept, of course, there's nothing wrong. This syllabus is not come in Surah Al-Baqarah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, oh, you believe in the syllabusan is this. That hasn't come in Islam. Syllabus is made. So syllabus is not qat'i. It's not like some people say, astaghfirullah, I can't touch the syllabus. So it's man-made. Man-made meaning great man-made. Of course, awliya. A lot of things keep on changing. In England as well, back 30 years ago, now there's new books, new things, for students to understand the modern world. Of course, that's no problem with that.
Men and women are I may be misunderstanding your statement, but what I think Islam says is that Islam provides justice, whether in the form of equality or equity. I think you are defining equality sometimes metaphorically and sometimes as linguistically. Can you please clarify?
I didn't understand what you were trying to say.
Okay, so your statement was that in Islam, men and women are equal. Was that so?
There's equality in Islam, yeah, but there are different.
Is Islam also justified in terms of that? Does it provide a just system as well in terms of either gender? That's what he's, I think, probably trying to say.
You have an elephant. I'm talking about looking at the elephant from this side, you're looking from this side. Look, rules for men are different from women, of course. Like, for example, basic rule, when there's haid for women, she doesn't offer salah. Men don't have haid, they have to offer salah. The rules for a wife are different to rules to the husband. The rules for girls are different to the rules. Of course, there are different rules.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
How about this statement, which is like Islam gives justice in the form of sometimes equality or equity. So rules are different, whether in sometimes if it's equal, the rules are same, and if it's different, then the rules are different. How about you go with this statement?
Say that again.
So how about you go with this statement that Islam provides justice?
Yeah, I didn't talk about justice, but anyway.
So I'm taking equality and equity under the umbrella of justice. So we have justice and then we have equality and equity. So Islam provides justice whether in the form of equality or equity. And now these rules differ whether sometimes if it's equality the rules will differ and sometimes whether equity the rules will differ. So I think that's more reasonable explanation.
You could say it that way. It's the same, but I think people generally understood that look, there's not similarity. Men and women are different. Well, what I meant with equality is that Allah treats men and women equally in terms of taqwa. من عمل صالحا منكم من ذكر أو أنثى المؤمنون والمؤمنات مؤمنين المسلمون مسلمات الله كثيرا والذاكرات. Just because you're a man and you do dhikr, you don't get more reward than a woman. A woman does dhikr and a man does dhikr. Just because you're a woman and you're doing a sin, you're a father and your daughter is smoking or your son is smoking, just because your daughter is smoking, she's more sinful because she's a woman. That's haram in Islam. This is what I mean, that in terms of your taqwa, your relationship with Allah, men and women are absolutely equal.
So we'll take
I have two questions. So one question is regarding when you started, you said that each of the times people thought that their current time is actually the worst one. And but as of now, when we talk about this time, we see a lot of signs are, getting close to the end of time. So how do we take those things in account? You have seen that Makkah turned all green, and lots of the Jaliyat fitnas are there. They're all coming, quite prominent in today's time. And my other question is that there's a lot of anxieties and stress and depressions. especially the people of Pakistan current times, considering the economical situations what are going on. Even the religious people are also, going through these stuff. So how do we tackle that?
Yeah, the first question, that was a side point I mentioned, that each era people think, but it's still true that there were people who were 100 years ago thinking Qiyamah was close. There was people, we do have signs now as well, but I think the way to remember to deal with this. There's a hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "Innama qiyamatu rajuli mautuhu." Your qiyamah is your death. Don't worry about the Dajjal signs. Don't worry about who will come. Just worry about your own life. The people around the world. I remember there were people who were thinking when the millennium was happening in 1999, that's it, dunya was coming to an end. I remember in 2012, some people said, that's it, Qiyamah is coming in 2012. There's people who made underground bunkers in Canada that's it, the world is ending. There's people who said all sorts of world is ending in 2000 and 2010 and 12 and 15 and so sometimes we can get engrossed in all of this, that the Dajjal's here and this has turned green and that's happened this and it's very fascinating as well. It's very fascinating. Yajuj Majuj, is it behind this mountain or is it in Himalayas or Karachi ke niche se niklege Yajuj Majuj, who knows where it'll come out from. Really, we need to focus on our own. Forget Yajuj Majuj. We pray our 5-time prayers. Is our akhlaq good? Our muamalat, our money, our business dealings, our relationship with Allah? Then millions of Yajuj Majuj will come and Dajjal can come. It doesn't matter. But if we are not right, and then that's why this hadith is really important. That real qiyamah is of our death. There are signs, but just signs are signs. It's not really. And the second part was about
anxiety and stress and depression, especially in Pakistan, it's prevailing among the religious people as well. So, what is something that it's maybe something missing, or it's actually there on it, or something like that?
Yeah, it's not only in religious people, but it's like it's getting very common, and there are reasons for it. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons. One of the reasons is really, this technology and media. That's a massive reason. The brain is connected to the technology media a lot. And there's data science on this. Yeah. We can take data science when it's not contradicting Islam. There's a lot of data and science on this. This technology media online world and social media specifically, all of this has a massive role to play. We live in a world where before people used to be fresh in their brain. I have my son has come with me today. We were trying to tell him to come. He wasn't coming. He wants to sit in his room and play on his phone. He's here. I brought him to Pakistan, but and he was telling me data. Make sure you get me the data. And I said, come to the lecture. He's not feeling too well as well. But this is the mind, brain. Honestly, this really creates issues. So I think that's a very important reason, or one of the main reasons why we have problems. There could be other reasons as well.
We'll take questions online first.
Yeah.
So, can you? Where was it? Yeah. So you said that Islam has some guidelines that cannot be broken. So does modernism or modernity also has some guidelines? That one needs to fundamentally hold on. So that's the question. So if you talk about the intersection of Islam and modernism, so you have Islam has certain guidelines which can't be broken, but on the other hand, modernity also provides some stuff, like some fundamentals which can't be broken. So where do you find the middle ground?
To have a simple answer to this, if there are certain principles of modernity which can't be broken, and there's clear from the Quran, then of course the Quran and Sunnah comes before. You break this. But it rarely happens. There's different ways of. Do we find a contradiction between aql and naql, reason and sharia? Okay, there are different levels. You have absolute aql and absolute naql. Naql is the sharia, Quran, Sunnah. It's very difficult. You will never find a contradiction in this. Like for example, you won't have an ayah of the Quran saying there's no such a thing as moon exists, and aql is telling you clearly there's a moon or sun, but you can never find that. So you'll have levels. You'll have a second level of naql and high level of aql, or second level. There's all of this. There's a really good book written by a scholar from the subcontinent, Hakim al-Ummah Maulana Shri Thanvi rahimahullah. He's talked about this. It's in Arabic, it's in Urdu, it's in English. Al-intibahatul mufida lil-ijtibahat al-jadida. And I think it's called Answer to Modernism, I think in English and in Urdu as well. And he's given all the scenarios and examples that look, if you find a clash, and it's very, very well explained. Maybe good to read that, inshallah.
The other question was, does Islam provide space for modernism in the light of ahadith regarding ghuraba, the strangers?
Say that again.
Does Islam provide space for modernism, modernity in the light of ahadith regarding ghuraba, the strangers? Agar kam ghuraba,
Space, but what do they mean by that?
that does it accommodate them to a certain extent or any extent? In the light of modernism, of course.
When Islam began, it was strange. It was something strange. The question is probably asking if we follow that path, we do not include modern concepts.
No, I think that's not.
I think the person who's trying to ask is that can it be, like you said, right? Can it be interpreted in a way that is more suitable to the audience that you're speaking to, or like suitable to to the people who are still strange to Islam, the concept of Islam in general?
I think there's different. I'm not really understanding. I mean, the hadith is fatuba lil ghuraba, give glad tidings to the stranger, but that's something different. I think it's a bit confusing. Yeah.
Can you name some modernist names of today's time, especially Islamic scholars from the West? Because many educated Pakistani youth follow Western scholars and lectures, and some of them promote liberal values and reformation of Islam, and there's an intersection of that as well. So,
can you name what?
Some modernist names of today's times.
Modernist names.
Yeah, but like Islamic scholars from the West in particular.
Modernist or Islamic scholars?
Yeah, I think the person is trying to ask is that
modernist Islamic scholars.
Who are connected to the
Yeah. I don't like to normally mention names, to be honest. Neither negatively. I can mention positively, but I've always had a policy of never mentioning negatively people. It's very easy to say this one's bad and that one's bad, and don't listen to him, and don't listen to him, don't listen, just listen to me. This is a big fitna as well. You make everyone bad. He's bad and he's bad and he's bad, and this group and that group and that group. You are subconsciously telling anyone, Ana Rabbukumul Ala, I am the Prophet and I am the best. This is subconsciously. You don't tell people that directly. You tell people, I'm giving you true teachings, but really you're telling them that follow me. I am the main one. That's it. It's a very hidden tactic. So negatively, I don't know, but in terms of positively, people, there's lots of scholars. You have one of the greatest one in the world living in your city, Mufti Taqi Uthmani, hafidhahullah. He is well respected. You guys, sometimes they ghar ki murgi dal barabar. So you guys don't realize, you come and see in the West how people, I'm talking about professionals, people in the banking industry, financial industry, non-Muslims. I've traveled a lot with him. I've been with him. He's come to universities, like top universities, SOAS University. There's a non-Muslims, top people in high level, elite level, sitting next to him and saying, absolutely amazed by him. So he's probably, for me, he's probably the greatest scholar of the world in the whole planet. But there are others as well. But for me, he is. I just say this. But you guys, I don't know. You guys don't get this in Karachi. But honestly, find out if you see him. You see him. I've seen him in other countries. I've seen him in Holland, in Uzbekistan, in Bosnia, in Albania, in Holland, in UK, in Denmark, in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai. I've been to all these countries with him. I've seen him there. You see the Arab scholars. He went there recently, last year or the year before. The Imams of Haram were taking time just to read hadith with him, of Masjid Nabawi. There's one Imam of Masjid Nabawi who is an ashiq of Mufti Uthman. He's like absolute ashiq, Sheikh Ahmad Talib. Then they arranged for him to give courses for all the Qudat, all the Qadis and judges of Makkah, Medina, Jeddah. They had a course with him in Arabic. So he is probably, but there's others as well, I'm sure, in the world who, there will be so many others as well, inshallah.
We'll take questions on site if anyone has
I have a question. Earlier in your discussion, you mentioned that mental health is a very big problem which is going among people who are Muslims and non-Muslims as well. So, as per my understanding, when I read Quran, so Allah says, Allah will be Allah. So after that, I think that the practicing Muslim or a Mu'min who is very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in spirituality, in spiritual way. So how can he be depressed?
Good question. The Quran says, "Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub." With the remembrance of Allah, hearts find peace. But this is a ayah. It requires a lot of explanation. First of all, what is ala bi dhikrillah? It's not only saying Allah, Allah, Allah. This one person says to me, I say every morning, Allah, 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 Allah. Where's my peace? It's not just that. Bi dhikrillah means a holistic, comprehensive taking of the deen in one's life, which means imaniyat, aqaid, muamalat, muashara, akhlaq, everything. You know, doing dhikr but doing rishwa, then that's not ala bi dhikrillah. Being involved in haram and in, bribery or interest or taking people's money or not giving people things, breaking promises and all this, then it's not ala bi dhikrullah. Then there will be anxiety and all of this. So ala bi dhikrullah means all of deen, every aspect of deen has to be in one's life. And then number two, this sometimes we don't know the difference between depression, etc., and sadness. Sadness is normal. Nowadays we over-exaggerate. Sadness, nowadays every sadness is depression. Before, in the olden times, they used to just live with it. I'm just sad a bit. I mean, that's part of your life. Being sad is part of your life. If you're not going to be sad, then you're not a human. It's just normal. It's sadness. And the Quran says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. So that's part of dunya. And to understand that this dunya has good and bad and happiness and sadness and sorrow, it's a mixture. Jannah is only where there's bliss and Jahannam is. And that's why, one of the ni'mah of Jannah is the greatest, after the greatest ni'mah. The greatest ni'mah of Jannah is to see Allah. But after that, the greatest ni'mah of Jannah is La khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun. That's why the Quran always says, because in the dunya we fear what will happen, and we have sadness. Jannah, Allah says many times, La khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun. No fear, no huzn, no sadness. So a lot of the times it's not depression. I feel that half of the time, I don't know statistically, but I think a lot of the times it's not actually clinical depression. It's not any of that. It's just basic sadness. And people are nowadays, we live again because of social media. People attention seeking. There's too much attention seeking. Everyone is attention seeking. So just live, with it. It's sadness. It's okay too. One day you're going to be sad. So these are the two aspects to it.
Can this question be answered as even Nabi Sallallahu faced depression once in his life for 6 months?
Yeah, and rather we can use any word.
And that surah that was revealed with the So as he said that even the spiritual people or people who are close to Allah have this connection or
can have it, yeah.
Can even have that. Because there become across an example from our Nabi Sallallahu life as well.
Yeah. But it can happen. But we can use any term. We like to use the word depression today a lot. But we can use sadness, we can use, just down mood or, anything. And all the prophets were tested. أَشَّدُ النَّاسِ بَلَاءً الْأَنْبِيَاء ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلْ فَالْأَمْثَلْ. So, yeah, it's...
We'll take one question. Question regarding Ishtihad. I'm a lawyer, so in the Islamic legal system, we see that the door of Ishtihad is closed. And
it's closed, but it's tiny, this much open. It's this much. It's very difficult. You're too fat to get through it. Joke.
So, how do you define modernism in that context, our legal system? Because we, as a lawyer, when we turn to our Islamic legal system, we don't see it being updated in accordance to the modern days. So, how do you think that needs also needs to be changed? The door of Ishtihad, I should also be allowed to pass through it. So, and the second question is...
Can I pass through your legal door?
Yes, inshallah.
Just like this?
We'll see, inshallah.
No, why see? Can I just tomorrow enter through your legal door?
I don't get the question.
Unless you're qualified. Unless you're a lawyer.
Without being qualified, can I come and practice tomorrow some legal stuff?
No, I'm not talking about that. But when we're taught that legal door is closed and we don't.
Even if someone becomes qualified?
Yes.
Even if someone becomes. Okay. So this is the answer basically, that in Islam, the door is not totally closed, that no human being can ever do ijtihad. But like with any field, you have to be an absolute super expert. Today in every field, everyone accepts this. Even cooking food, you can't, you have Jamie Oliver, who's a famous, cook chef. Nobody will allow you in any field unless you are super expert. When it comes to Islam, everyone's the expert except the experts. Everyone's the expert except the expert. But in Islam, everyone, the doctor says, the problem is, doctor is, you're expert in medicine, but just because I'm a medical doctor, I am not an expert in Islam. I am an engineer, I'm an expert in engineering, but that doesn't mean I'm expecting. Just because I get the expertise in this field, I'm not an expert in Islam. Likewise, a medical in engineering or a car mechanic or legal, etc. So you have to be an expert. And like with any field, you need good 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years of deep study of Islam. In the back in the day, the mujtahid used to study one imam, as an example. He said, I went to seek knowledge, one journey, 14 years, and the next journey, 20 years. 34 years, Baghdad, Basra, Kufa, Iraq, Sham, Palestine, everywhere. They are traveling the world. Imam Bukhari traveled. I've got a book written on Imam Bukhari and the whole Uzbekistan trip we did. I don't know, 12,000 kilometers on foot, traveling different places. The journeys. There's a book written by Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, rahimahullah, in Arabic. I hope this gets translated into English. The pages on the sacrifices of the scholars of the past in seeking knowledge. He's got first chapter, how the great mujtahids of the past stayed hungry for days. People couldn't eat because of trying to become an expert. Then there's a chapter, people who sacrificed their life, they didn't even marry. Some of the greatest imams of this time had no time to marry. You can't be a mujtahid and marry and go and change nappies and everything, and all of this is impossible. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah didn't marry. Ibn Jarir al-Tabari didn't marry. Imam Nawawi didn't marry. There's so many great scholars. That doesn't mean you can't. You can be it, but I'm just saying that some of them, night and day. Even students like me, I'm telling you, I am awake most nights till 4 a.m., 3 a.m. for years, for the past 20 years. I'm just a student, not even close to the door of ijtihad. Just doing research on masail, I am awake for at least till 3 a.m., 4 a.m., sleep 2 or 3 hours most nights in my life, just for masail, and writing books or doing tahqiq or research. And I'm sure like that, there's so many students like that. So we have to understand this deen is not a simple deen that any Tom, Dick and Harry who just studies a bit can become a mujtahid. But at the same time, the door is not closed. That's what I said. Thoda sa open hai, but it has to be only for those people who are absolute experts. Therefore, even today, the absolute experts, they will still do ijtihad. You have to do ijtihad. If a new issue comes, if a new issue arrives, of course you have to do ijtihad. If something was born today, something came into the world today, the scholars of today will give ruling, of course, that's ijtihad. Something, cloning came up, or give me any example, anything, medical issues, IVF and crypto, yeah. So now there is ijtihad. That is what you call ijtihad, of course. If something wasn't in the past, but only the experts, only the super experts, we have to accept the expertise of the expert. In medicine, I accept the expertise of the medic. What you say, I accept. There might be differences between them as well. Somebody might say, oh, no problem, differences are part. I experienced so many times. I went to one doctor, he's saying one thing. I went to another super expert doctor, he's saying something totally opposite. Astaghfirullah, how can you disagree? No, it doesn't matter. This is ilm. Now, who shall I follow? Who do I trust more? Allah's given me that much aql. I don't have medicine knowledge, but I can do some research. I can do some background. I studied him. You know, I once changed a doctor because I went to him and I told him my symptoms and he was checking on Google my symptoms. I just straight away left him. Like, what is this guy doing? Checking on Google my symptoms? I can do that at home. So Allah's given I've got that much aql to understand who is a good doctor, who's not a good doctor, even though I don't have knowledge of medicine. So if there's a difference of opinion, you follow someone who you trust. That's it. So basically, this is the summary is that ijtihad door is not closed, but it's not open for everyone. It's slightly open, and like in every field, you have to reach the extreme level of an expertise. Extreme level of expertise. You need to know your Arabic inside out, nahwa, sarf, grammar, good 6, 7, 8 years of study of nahwa, sarf and grammar. High level, usul al-fiqh. There are talks on this topic, books on this topic, prerequisites of ijtihad. There's many books written in English as well. We could read them as well, inshallah. The different sciences that a person has to master before he gets to that level.
We'll take 2 last questions. One is,
earlier this guy asked the question and you give the answer that so online platform destroyed human life.
Not like that, generally. Yeah, this is why I say people are very, like you say one thing and it's, I didn't say that. Online, did I say this? The online, what do you? Yeah.
Online social platform.
Yeah, destroyed human life. Come on.
What do you recommend that how will we get rid from these online social platforms?
Say it again.
What do you recommend that how we get rid from these online social platforms?
How we get rid from them?
Because I have an addiction to use too much Facebook and I got depressed.
It's willpower. I mean, you don't have to get rid of it completely, but like I said, with control, you have to manage. It's one of the reasons that it causes. So control, manage with anything. You need willpower. Maybe, I don't know. Nothing happens without willpower. You have to that's why they have on this, like how much hours you've used and, using too much and all of this. Maybe tell someone, your friend, that take my phone away from me. Bas. Gone, finish. I'll give it to you tomorrow at this time. Use it for 1 hour. Bas, khalas. Tell someone this who can have control like that, take your phone away from you. That would be one of the ways. Inshallah. Just use different tactics. Inshallah.
take one last question.
My question is, there's so much fitna around the world this time. So what is the simplest and easiest way to cope up with all this? Like we go to universities and all this stuff. So what's the simplest and easiest way to avoid this being in the circle of taqwa?
Stay in the circle of taqwa.
How can you do that?
The simplest way is stay in the circle of taqwa.
How can we stay in the circle of
Go to the circle of taqwa. You've come here, alhamdulillah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa kunu ma'a sadiqin. So stay in good company and you just try your best, but not just physically, but even online. So however, wherever you are, stay in the company of good people, inshallah. And how you do it is you just do it. It's easy. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. This time is, it's quite late, inshallah. So we end, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه عبدك ونبيك سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ منه عبدك ونبيك سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.